Hi everybody, it's Johnny Seville from Acorn Wealth here, and we have had a very interesting couple of days in the market. We talked about the fact that we have broken through the upward trend line, and we were approaching that previous resistance set by the complex head and shoulders pattern back here, and of course today we broke through it, as we talked about in yesterday's executive summary. We expected that. For those of you who weren't around to watch that, you can catch it on the YouTube channel. But basically, because we were seeing this strengthening momentum, and also in a lot of the institutional buying activity on stocks we've been looking at, there's been a pickup of activity that seems to be broad across the market, and the advanced decline line also moving higher across these last couple of days. So. Having a look again at some stocks that may be of interest as potential watches for a long, we searched for stocks that were kind of in momentum-based moves, so we're moving above their moving averages, had a bit of a nice scoop to the bottom, and we looked for stocks that had positive insider buying, institutional buying, with a favourable twigs money flow and stochastic. And so the ones that we came up with was firstly ACXM, and that had that lovely little kind of sharp, shallow stochastic, which was making a higher low over the previous stochastic, which is usually favourable, and of course above both moving averages. We talked about that the other day. Got that $2 pop potential. ANV. ANV was interesting because, unlike gold over the last 5 days, ANV has actually had a very impressive kind of stepping rally. Was up 4.23%, then flat, then another 8.46%, as opposed to, of course, looking at the gold chart, which is completely the opposite. So looking at ANV, that was quite interesting, and it had insider buying, and was looking fairly decent from a technical perspective, given that there's a nice increase in the money flow over declining price, which is unusual, and of course again those sharp stochastics. Now the insider buying was a little while back, however it still does look interesting from an accumulation standpoint. So there's that one, and again the contrarian move against the gold is fairly interesting. Looking for that to possibly have a nice rally up towards the $4 region from where it's currently sitting. Now RVBD, also another one. You can see quite a common theme to these moves. RVBD seemingly breaking above some horizontal resistance here, moving into the upper end of its Bollinger Bands, but maybe a slight pullback might give it a better entry point. But nevertheless, RVBD also was attractive from the same kind of reasons. We've got that nice higher lows and high bottoms on basically unchanging price. We've got those sharp increasing stochastics over here on the bottom. So RVBD was another one that looked fairly interesting, and there's some very interesting, unusual option activity at the $21 calls. If you go into your option chains and have a look at that one, so obviously some heavy speculation on this one doing well, but at least a gap fill could take it up to that $20 price. CONN was the next that again came up in this scan, and you can see this one also attractive from that sharp, shallow stochastic. Again, we're looking for kind of the similar characteristic traits here. The money flow increasing, not as different or dramatic as some of the other stocks in terms of looking for divergence, but this nevertheless did have a steady climb, and it's been coinciding with institutional and insider buying, which is what made this fairly raise an eyebrow. If we go over to have a look at, say, for example, insider cow, and I'll just bring that up on the screen, and we have a look at CONN, you'll see all of those purchases happening in April. Quite a significant, consistent trend of insider buying, and then on the institutional side, you can see we've had recent activity there from Morgan Stanley. And finally, the last one on the list, ZQK. Oh, and before we do that, I mean, again, with CONN, there is there's again a lot of upside potential, just because of if you look how far that's came down. It's just starting to breach through its moving average, and the next real kind of problem doesn't start to occur until it gets up to the $50 mark. So there's a good $6 there of potential upside movement. So certainly raised enough interest to be watching that for a possible long tomorrow. And ZQK was the final one, similar to CONN. It's had a or CONNs, which is the name for it. If we go to ZQK, you'll actually see that we've got insider buying, both in June, and again on the institutional side, quite a strong theme to the activity over the last little while. Some of this goes back into 2013, but you can see most recently a heavy shift towards the buy side over this last little bit. Now again, going back to the chart, this one also has a fair bit of room to move. I'll just add the next next moving average on, which is the 50-day simple moving average, so we can just see where that next kind of point of conflict comes in. And we add that on the simple. You can see we've got the 50-day now in here. Oh, we already had that there. Okay. Okay, there we go, fixed it. Okay. So we're going in there and having a look at the, you can see the gap fill is significantly higher, and so I mean with any of these types of trades, the potential's obviously a lot more. But if we look at least where the next kind of main resistance point comes in, we can see the moving average coming down here, which will quite possibly end up coinciding with this top of the resistance point here. So I mean, again, if the stock's able to rally from this point, from around that 320, 330 area up to where that resistance is met, that's a good dollar on a $3.30 stock. So 20-30% types of move potential. So that is your executive summary tonight. And again, this is not a recommendation to buy or sell. It is just simply to add to your watch list as possible candidates that you might be interested in. And we hope it helps. Take care.